Hello students, welcome back. In the previous presentation, we have started with the new chapter called Fire, Friend and Foe. And we have seen how fire was a mystery to early humans. We have also learned that there are three things which are necessary in order to make fire. Those are fuel, oxygen and heat. And we have learned that if one of them is absent, there can be no fire. And we have also learned that the temperature at which the fuel begins to burn is called the flash point or the kindling temperature. So let's continue from what we left in the previous class. Fire, friend and foe. It is sometimes said that fire is a good servant, but a bad master. It only means that fire is very useful as long as it is kept under control. For instance, we use it to cook our food, warm our homes in winter, and to generate electricity. But on the other hand, if it gets out of control, it can be very dangerous. Each year, thousands of homes and shops are damaged by fire. Vast areas of forests are also destroyed, and hundreds of people are killed or injured. So in this passage, we are talking of fire as a good servant, but a bad master. A servant is the one who serves you. He obeys what the master commands, right? So fire is regarded as a good servant because it is going to obey what the master demands, right? But fire is a bad master. If you allow fire to become the master, then fire will be a bad master. Because why? Once fire is a master, we will not be able to control fire. Okay? Fire will no longer be useful to us. It will rather destroy us, right? So that is why it is being said that fire is a good servant but a bad master. In what way it is a good servant? It is being shown here that fire is a good servant because we use fire to cook our food, to warm our homes and ourselves in winter, and we also use fire to light our houses. But you can consider fire as a bad master because why? You can witness thousands of homes and shops which are being damaged by fire. And you can see vast areas of forests being destroyed by fire, and also hundreds of people are being killed or injured on account of fire. So fire is a good servant but a bad master. Observe this following sentence. Fire is a good servant but a bad master. This type of sentence we called it is a proverbial saying. More examples of proverbial sayings are like better late than never. A bird in the hand is worth than two in the bush. Beggars can't be choosers. Two wrongs don't make right. Birds of the same feather flock together. So these are what we call wise sayings or proverbial sayings. So answer to this question. What does the writer means when he says that fire is a good servant but a bad master? What the writer means is that as long as fire is under control, fire will be useful to us, but once it is out of control, then it is not anymore useful, it becomes our enemy. Second question. Vast areas of forest are also destroyed and hundreds of people are killed or injured. What does this sentence tell you? This sentence tells you that fire is not a good master. Because once it is out of control, it can just destroy Vast areas of forests are being destroyed by fire, and people are being killed or people are getting injured on account of fire. So let's continue with this next passage. Just as 3 things are needed to start a fire, there are 3 main ways in which a fire can be put out. In each, one of the 3 ways needed for burning is taken away. For example, we can take away the fuel. If the fire has no fuel to feed on, no burning can take place. We often let a fire die out simply by not adding more fuel to it. So what is being said in this passage? We have learned that there are 3 things needed to make fire: fuel, oxygen, and heat. These 3 things are needed to make fire. If one of them is absent, if one of them is missing, there can be no fire. And now the author is also telling that there are 3 ways by which we can let the fire die out. So he gives us the first way. He said we can put out fire by removing the fuel. So in this passage, the writer is telling us that there are 3 ways by which we can put out fire. And the first way is by removing fuel. So he was saying that we often let a fire die out simply by not adding more fuel to it. So don't add fuel anymore to the fire, and the fire will die out. So we will be able to put out or extinguish that fire. So I want you to think upon this question. You might have witnessed houses or forests on fire in your locality. How do people in your locality put out the fire? There are different ways of putting out fire, and in some locality they use water, they use sand, or sometimes even using a blanket, a wet blanket, in order to cover the fire, to cover the flame and put out the fire. So I've got a question. A fire can be let to die out by adding more fuel to it, by not adding more fuel to it, by treating fire as a friend, by treating fire as an enemy. What can be the answer? The answer to this question will be B, by not adding more fuel to it. So remove the fuel. So let's continue with the next passage. The second way of putting out a fire is to prevent oxygen from reaching it. No supply of oxygen means no fire. Small fires can be put out or smothered with a damp blanket or a sack. This stops oxygen reaching the burning material. Sometimes carbon dioxide is used to extinguish fire. It does not allow oxygen to reach the burning material. So now the writer in this passage is talking about the second way to put out fire. We have learned about the first way, by removing away the fuel, by not adding more fuel to it. And now the second method, the second way by which fire can be put out is that cut the supply of oxygen. And how do you cut the supply of oxygen? How you prevent oxygen from reaching the fire? You smother it with a damp blanket. Smothered means covering. Try to cover the fire with a wet blanket. Damp means wet. So you can see in this picture, the woman is trying to cover with a kind of cloth over the fire. And you can see in the next picture how fire is being extinguished by using the extinguisher. So the meaning of smother means to extinguish by covering it. Damp means slightly wet. Extinguish means to cause a fire or light to cease to burn or shine. So can you frame sentences using the words smother? So you can say, my sister smothered the fire on a cooking stove with a wet blanket. Damp. My clothes are all damp because of the rain. Extinguish. You can say, the candlelight in the room was extinguished by the strong wind. So let's answer to these fill-in-the-blanks questions. The second way of putting out a fire is to prevent dash from reaching it. What can be the answer? The answer is oxygen. Small fires can be put out or dashed with a damp blanket or sand. What can be the answer? Extinguished. So let's recapitulate what we have learned in today's class. Firstly, we have learned that fire is a good servant but a bad master. We have also learned that there are three ways of putting out fire. The first way is by taking away the fuel or remove the fuel. And the second way is by cutting the supply of oxygen by using a damp blanket or by using carbon dioxide.